Hi, I'm Kurt Hicks. I'm a mountain guide from Seattle, Washington, and I'm here filming for CiloGear today on location in the Sierra. We're at about 12,000 feet underneath Bear Creek Spire. I'm going to talk about what's in my new 30-30 pack. So here we go. First thing I noticed about this pack is it's a bit taller than the 30 liter, but smaller than the 40, and it's really streamlined, so it carries really well close to my body. It's easy to transfer the load to where I want it to be. So on the outside here, I've got my trusty ridge rest, nice and light, 8 ounces. Up next, I have my customized 38 centimeter ice axe, which is small enough that it actually fits inside the pack, so I can carry it inside when I'm climbing on some alpine rock routes. It's got a steel ad, so I can chop steps in the morning, and it's big enough I can self-rest if I need to. Okay, what else? Well, we see the hose sticking out here for the camelback, so I'll pop the brain open and see what's inside. Before we get to the brain, we'll do that later. That's where I keep kind of my essential stuff. Up here in the top, got my helmet. Underneath, I've got the titanium jet boil, nice and light, 8 ounces. Serves the same function as a heavier stove, and it's kind of my default for the mountains. Small fuel canister. We're only out for one night, and there are only 2 of us, so that's plenty of fuel. Up next, we've got the rack here. We've got some stoppers, a few cams, and a handful of slings. The route that we're climbing on Bear Creek Spire goes at 5.5 or so we don't need a lot of protection. Coming out next, you're thinking, how did that fit in there? Here's our 60 meter, 9.4 millimeter rope. A nice light single rope for alpine climbing, and I expect to do a fair bit of terrain belays using horns and whatnot on the route, so I brought a slightly thicker rope because it's a little bit more wear resistant. Okay, coming out next, I've got my first item in my layering system. It's a nice light wind shirt and a lone fleece glove. I know where the spare is, or the match to it. We'll find that in a minute. Digging down deep here, out comes my nice light Feathered Friends 10-degree sleeping bag. I could go lighter. It's certainly still warm here in the Sierra, but I'll sleep really well with a little bit warmer sleeping bag. Coming up next, a little bit of evening entertainment, a book of crosswords. We're only about 3 hours from the car here. We got to camp early, so I thought we'd have something fun to do. Okay, coming up next, we are in the Sierra, which means it's bear country, so we have to protect our food from the critters, both the bears and the marmots and other rodentia. So we'll crack open this canister and we'll see what's inside here. And use the old pick of the ice axe to unlock it. Okay, pop the top here. We've got a little bit more of the rack to come out, a quadruple length sling, my belay device, a couple lockers, and my emergency carabiner. It's got a tie block and some cord and a little pocket knife on there. As I said, here's our glove. So I've got my pair of Windstopper fleece gloves. I've got a nice lightweight wool buff that seems to be the key layering piece in the mountains oftentimes. And then I happen to accidentally, apparently, bring a second buff, which is okay. I like to have one on my head and one on my neck. So up next, I've got a really lightweight soft shell jacket. And we're not expecting rain, so I didn't even bring a hard shell. And then I've also got a lightweight pair of soft shell pants. These are the Patagonia Rock Guide pants, and they're ideal for me for summer alpine climbing. Up next in the layering system here, I've got my lightweight puffy jacket. And that'll just keep the chill at bay in the morning when we start tomorrow. Coming up next, I've got my little first aid kit here. It's in a little Tupperware. It's got some ski straps on it. Tupperware keeps it dry. Ski straps are pretty useful for splinting or field repair of various things. So in here, I've got basically stuff to control major bleeding and trauma, some painkillers, and that's about it. A handful of Band-Aids and some gloves, and a little CPR mask. So there's that. I've got my little webbing belt for my pants for tomorrow. What else? I've got a little warm hat. Digging in deep here, I've got my my harness. Nice lightweight camp air harness. Weighs about 8 ounces again. You'll see the theme here. So now we'll go into the brain, see what we've got here. This is where I usually keep the stuff that I need readily at hand for my hike in or for the route. And given that we just got to camp, I had kind of my essentials for that sort of day in the brain. So first I've got my little hot water bottle here. It's a 16-ounce Nalgene with a beer cozy on it. Keeps my drinks warm when the nights are cold. I've got a 3-liter platypus here, only about a half a liter in it because there's plenty of water on the way. I've got some food here, a nice sandwich from the store, a luxury item and local nectarine, some cookies, and that's about it for food. So what else is in the top here? Well, I've got my little Petzl Tika XP headlamp with some fresh batteries. I've got my Aqua Mira so I can have good clean water, some sunscreen. The route beta pages pulled directly out of Super Topo, so I don't have to carry the whole book. Roll of tape, good for field repair, but also in my first aid kit. Or we are maybe going to do some crack climbing, so we can make some gloves out of it. What else do we have in here? A little more food. My guide radio here, a little Yaesu UHF VHF ham radio, useful for talking to the Park Service or the Forest Service in the event of an emergency. What do we got on the left side here? Okay, the underside of the brain. This is usually where I put stuff that I'm not going to need until I get to camp. So what else do I have in here? Well, I've got the map of where we're going. So that can go in the beta pile. I've got my wilderness permit from the Forest Service. I've got my little Right in the Rain guide notebook. I've got a little package of toilet paper. I've got an EpiPen because I'm allergic to bees, and I've got some Benadryl duct taped to the outside, so it's one nice handy kit. What else do I have in here? Toothbrush, toothpaste, and a pre-cut piece of floss. A little mini lighter, just in case the jet boil igniter doesn't work or if we need to start a fire in the event of an emergency. A little bit of arnica, a homeopathic remedy, good for muscle soreness. I've got a little REI titanium folding spork and a cell phone. And that is what is in my pack today for climbing a moderate alpine rock route. I want to talk just a little bit more about this pack and why I think it's so rad. First of all, it's super light. Second of all, with the 3030, the suspension system has changed a little bit. The waist belt here is removable, just like any old CiloGear waist belt. But you'll notice the difference in that I can actually remove, if I want to, the padding that goes over the hips. So then you can have, this looks like about 1.5 inch webbing if you want to climb without having anything interfering with your gear loops. So pretty nifty feature. And I could also store it in camp if I wanted to. The brain here is a little bit bigger than the 30 liter, a little bit smaller than the 60 liter brain, and it fits really well over the top, which I really like. I hate having that bobble-headed look to your backpack. So again, it's fully removable using the D-clips. So I'll pop that guy off, and I'm going to have it off tomorrow when I'm climbing to make my pack as light as I possibly can. Cool, so what's the last thing that's interesting about this? Well, the suspension. So things have changed here. We have a couple different options. There's the traditional CiloGear bivy pad, which is fantastic, and it's actually part of my sleeping system every night in the mountains. But one of the other differences for this is this new lightweight inflatable pad. And I find that it actually makes my back a lot more comfortable. If there are cams poking, or in this case this big bear canister, it eliminated some of that discomfort, and it actually gives it pretty good rigidity. So it has a little tube here, and it comes with a bulb, so you can blow it up, but you can also just as easily blow it up. Twist the valve, and now you've got a little pad. You can go floating on the lake, or you could sleep on it, but it's actually really nice and adds a lot of comfort to the backpack. So both of those fit in the usual spot, just below the Ninja pocket. Okay, so there it is. the 3030 Chilo pack, a fantastic little climbing pack that carries the load well on the approach, gets nice and small for the climbing, and carries everything really well. So I hope you enjoyed. This has been a CiloGear propaganda film on location in the Sierra.